Hello, this is my 8th and probably my last video on the VGSF paperbacks. In this video I will be showing you images from my spreadsheet on the VGSF paperbacks. I'm hoping that this will be made available as a download, but I will talk more about that at the end. This first sheet has all the information that I have on the VGSF, or most of it. As you can see, it's quite a long list. I have some counts there. Then I have some information on duplicates. But rather than use this sheet to explain, I've split all the data up and I will go through it and match the data to the videos that I did. All my videos had a hash number, so what I will do is start with hash 1, where I talked about the general history of early Gollancz paperbacks. So the top section shows the Terry Carr Best Science Fiction of the Year series in paperback. On all my sheets I will show the author first, then the title of the book. On this sheet I'm showing the sequence number, the ISBN and date of issue. I've also got a column for the artist, and I've got another column to put some notes about reprints. So for example, you can see this first one, the ISBN used was the same as that of the hardback. Down here I've got now the 87 reprint. I've never seen one. I don't know whether it exists, but I did see some reference to it, so I put it in. There were 2 other reprints in the same format as the original printing. This is the Gollancz Classic SF, the B format paperbacks. These are numbered 1 to 20. All this information is in the ISFDB, so I don't know whether this will be in the download or downloads that are made available, but I'll come to that at the end. On the same video I talked about the VGSF Classics, and they're listed here. I don't think I mentioned I've also got the issue price, the original price. If you've got these books or have seen some of them, you wonder whether an artist was involved or whether it was put together some other way, so they may not have used an artist. Now again, all this information is very well set out in the ISFDB, so I'm not going to say any more about it. And finally, this section shows the other early Gollancz paperbacks that I mentioned. I must admit I haven't checked this for many years, but as far as I'm aware, these 5 were mentioned in other VGSF paperbacks as being issued as a VGSF. But as I showed you in that first video, they were not issued as a VGSF. Again, in that first video I showed you a copy of Valentine. I've also included 2 more SP Somtau, is also known as Somtau Sucharit. These 3 I believe were all issued as Gollancz horror paperbacks, but I've only got the one as far as I know, Valentine. There are other Gollancz horror paperbacks. I've not collected them. There are a small number shown in the ISF DB, and one of my contacts to that first video, I think, mentioned there was it 11 by TM Wright, which I've never collected. I don't recall seeing. So the Goliath's Horror is not a complete list, it's a very short list. And I think that is all I intend to mention that relates to that first video. So we'll go on and talk about the large volumes, which was my second video. Again, as before, so this data was split up from that original list that I showed you, and I extracted it in sections. So again, author. The number here can either be the number in the sequence, so that was a trilogy or at least a series of 3 books. The titles. For larger formats, I just use this description, VGSF brackets LV brackets. Something that wasn't on the first sheet is how the first mass market paperback, the A format, was issued. So some were issued as VGSF, those are the 2 that were issued by Legend, and some, as far as I can tell, there was no mass market paperback. Finally, as I mentioned, Vista is almost definitely the natural successor to the VGSFs, so I've mentioned those 2. I'll say a little bit more about the dates in a minute, but I have got a date of issue and the ISBN for all of those, and there are the artists. I'm pausing a reasonable time on each screen, and we'll talk while that's in view, so that if anyone specifically wants to make some notes now, they can do. But as I say, I'm hoping that a download will become available in due course. If I move on to the third video, which is the first one on the mass market paperbacks, these are the ones I covered in that first video. Now I've got a few notes here which were also on the first sheet, so I'll just run through these. If a mass market edition follows a VGSF Classics edition, I've described it as a VGSF brackets second brackets. If a mass market edition follows a large volume, it is normally described as a second print, VGSF second. And also there are 2 editions of some VGSF mass market paperbacks. So an example is here, Cyclone, so that's VGSF, and it was then reissued with a new ISBN and cover. So I also described that as VGSF second. As I say, I will go through that. I'll say a bit more. First prints, I've used various sources to find this information, so I'll run through that note. Dates in blue have used the month given in the ISFDB. Dates in black are from later printings. Dates in green is from the ISDB, but based on the hardback date, because obviously a number of hardbacks were issued at the same time as the B format or C format paperbacks. Dates in brown I got from ISBN. Generally, some users or sellers on eBay get the ISBN information onto their listings, so on occasions I have extracted that information from there. In my dates column, I've only ever used the month and the year. On the ISBN information, the brown ones, often the information does give a day of the month, but I haven't recorded that. I suppose in theory it could be done. I don't know whether it exists for all of them. Next, I'll just go on to the artists. As far as I know, the artist is stated on every book. So all of these artists were stated on the book. The ones in black were also in the ISFDB, but the ones in, I don't know whether you call it lilac or purple, were not, or possibly the book was listed as Gollancz as the publisher, so I didn't check those at the time, so I looked at my copy of the book and I used that. So that is what the purple stands for. So I think I've covered all my notes there. And I will just mention this one, Strength of Stones. So in places I have comments, and this Strength of Stones is described as a second edition. It's not the second printing of the first VGSF A format. Carrying on, I'll go to video 4. Now, I think as I mentioned, Arthur C. Clarke can be a bit of a problem researching and understanding. I have got some notes. That one I've got as previously published as Gollancz SF number 5, but I haven't described it as a second. This one was described as a second, and it was previously issued as VGSF Classic number 9. Now I did a lot of this listing many years ago, so I cannot guarantee this information, but I believe it's all correct. It's possible, for example, that one said it was a second printing VGSF, but I can't remember. So those are the books I showed you on my 4th video. I'll just leave it there for a moment. Right, moving on, I shall show you the 5th, or the books relating to the 5th video. Not very much to mention here. Oh yes. That one was a trilogy, but the 3rd one was issued as a Vista paperback. So again, if you like, another example of Vista being the natural follow-on to VGSF. Can I also say on that one, I think I originally, when I first did my listing, listed that as one word, Northwind, but it appears that the accepted use is having it as 2 words. I think there was one. I'll leave this screen up for a moment. There was one other like that I will mention, so before I go on to screen 6, I'll briefly go back. Mind Players. Again, there's a comment here. The title on the front cover is shown as 2 words, but the title page, the spine, her inscription in my copy appears to show it as 1 word, and that seems to be the generally accepted use. So again, I've altered my original listing to now show the accepted title, which is as 1 word. this is the one I just showed you, so I will carry on. Alright, I'll just mention that one. I'm sure I've seen it elsewhere listed as being priced at $3.99, but my copy is $4.99, but no indication of a reprint. I've never seen one at $3.99, so if anyone has seen one, be quite interested to hear. Carrying on, these are the books in my 6th video. The one with the box round here was the 2nd edition of Who Goes Here. This is the one I put on my little addendum video. And other than that, that was quite a straightforward section, so I'll leave it on here for a minute or two in case you want to have a look. Carrying on, these are the books that I showed on my 7th video. Again, nothing particularly special to say about these, so I'll leave the screen up for a minute. I hope the image is clear enough of all these screens. My apologies if it is slightly difficult to read or that I haven't made the screen or the information slightly larger, but it took me a while to get it set up so that I could do this. Carrying on, I will go on to reprints. A number of the A formats were reprinted. As far as I know, none of the larger formats had a reprint in the larger format. Some of the larger formats were reprinted as A format. So these reprints are all A format, not B format. When I've seen reprints over the years, I've checked some of the data, so some I've never seen, some printing, so I wasn't able to put the price. As you can see, the price sometimes goes up, but they don't change the ISBN. So I've left gaps. Reprints nearly always show the dates of earlier printings, which can be very useful. I'm fairly certain I once saw the 11th printing of Eric. Unfortunately, I didn't make a note of the issue date for the 10th printing. So again, if someone has that and would like to let me know, I'd be grateful. So these are the reprints that I'm aware of. Some of these were, I don't know how many because I haven't researched it, but some of these were subsequently reprinted as Vista paperbacks. Now, I haven't researched Vista paperbacks. If someone was keen, they could probably have a go at doing research into Vista paperbacks. On the ISFDB, there are 105 entries under the publisher Vista. I had a look, I have 27. I don't know how many of the 105 were unique, whether any were duplicated. Some of the Vista paperbacks were then reprinted as Vista paperbacks again, so there would be quite a bit of work to check out the Vista paperbacks, and I have no idea whether the ISFDB is complete in terms of its listing of Vista paperbacks. So that would be a project for someone if they wish to tackle it. I have some of these. I would quite like to collect all of the VGSF reprints, but I only buy if I see a really nice copy. So I have seen one or two good or fair copies, and I haven't bothered buying. I've only bought a few where I thought it was a good copy or where it was very, very cheap. So that is it in terms of reprints. That was on the first sheet, if that is made available as a download. Finally, in search of improving the condition of my books, I'm going to show one more sheet. Some people, or one person, commented about the quality of the books. Well, I'll repeat my sort of response that the plastic bags often make them look slightly better than they are. So basically, I use a numerical system for grading, and I use a system of 1 to 7, or maybe even 8 if it's a really tatty copy. And basically I do the condition like this. So I use 1 as my best condition, fine, 2 is near fine, 3 VG plus, 4 VG minus, and so forth. Some people say I'm strict on my grading, but I know that standards vary hugely in the way people grade books. So I thought I'd do as an example, show the fact that not all of mine were perfect. So the top 2 I've put there. Sorry, and the other thing I will say is, if you use a number, it makes it easy to sort your information. So I've sorted on the condition column. So these are 2 where I have a reprint, but I don't have the first printing, and I believe I mentioned those in my videos. And then these are the grades of books where I'd quite like to upgrade. I do also use this blank column for odd notes. So S means it's signed or inscribed. That one's got a shop stamp. So, but otherwise would have been a very nice copy. So these are the ones I'm keenest to upgrade. Now I think, and I can't remember whether it probably would have been the first video, there are 211 VGSF paperbacks. That's 211 ISBNs. So I've analysed my grades, and you can see there what I've got in my collection. Just to make certain I hadn't missed anything on each of these sheets, those are the number of books I showed on each of the videos, and again it totals to the same number. On the first sheet, I did a simple check saying if the title of one book is the same as the title of a book above, then I don't increase the count. So basically that was an easy way of counting how many different titles have been issued as VGSF paperbacks, and it's 190. So you might query why that is different to the 211, and basically it's different because there are 15 large volumes that were reissued as an A format VGSF paperback, and there were 6 A format paperbacks that had a second edition with a different ISBN and different cover. Again, that reconciles back to 211. So that covers the information I wanted to give on my spreadsheet. As far as downloads are concerned, 2 other BookTube channels have offered to host the information. So I will be sending this spreadsheet off to them, and I'm giving them a week or two to work out how to do it, and I'm hoping they will, either or both will put the information up on their site and make it available for download. A free download, no charge. What I will ask them to do is put a comment on this video indicating how to find the information on their site if they've made it available to download. Hopefully one or both of them will do that. If not, I will try to do it myself, but I have doubts about my tech skills and whether I could get that available on YouTube. So I think that covers all I want to say. I hope you enjoyed this, and for once you didn't have to look at me, just the data. I hope you found this interesting. Paul Cooper signing off.